Today I bring you a build that is nothing short of a Christmas miracle. It is faster than Spark as you level. You can see things on the ground, and your friends will actually want to play with you. It allowed me to carry my very, very casual partner through the campaign and into the endgame. And once I saw them play it themselves and began to carry me, I knew that this build was too good to simply let it pass. It is easy to play, easy to understand, and relatively cheap to make. So good that I've done the video twice. We will go over the build itself, the skills, their gems, the passives, and the rotation. And hopefully, you will get as much of it that I have myself. And since hardly anyone ever watches the outro, I will say it now. I hope you have a happy holiday. Even if this isn't a holiday for you, I hope you are doing well. And with that, let's begin. Starting with the skills. We're going to begin by assuming you are a brand new mercenary, league starter. And when you do that, you're going to be focusing on about two abilities. One at the start, which is fragmentation rounds, this here. And the key to fragmentation rounds is you have to be relatively close to them. And you just kind of sidestep them, like I am here, and you kind of encircle them. Okay, and I'm not trying to dodge or anything right now, it's just an example. Now, once you can get it, you're gonna have high velocity rounds here, which looks like this. And this has scatter shot in it right now, which gives it multiple projectiles. Fragmentation rounds will generally out DPS things, but there are some times in bosses or certain things where you can't get close to the enemy, and that's when high velocity rounds come in. And that looks like this here. See, let's see if we can find something up here. I can stay at range and just pelt things. Now, these aren't great for packs, which is why fragmentation rounds are your go-to. And fragmentation rounds in general, if you can get close to things, they will out DPS high velocity rounds. But we'll assume league starter, you're going to focus these two abilities, and then about level 22, you're going to get the ability that the entire build is focused around. Now, I believe it's about 22. Doesn't say. But I believe it's about 22, because my partner just did this and they got it about 22, 24. You're gonna get explosive shot. And this, after leveling all of the characters through the campaign into the endgame, this has been the fastest build that I have came across. Spark, very fast, very good, but it takes a little setup. This, you just go and you gun it, and it looks like this. Now the second that you unlock this ability here, you're going to want to put Scattershot as a support gem. Scattershot's very important. You get 3 of these suckers, and it really flies, okay? And with that, I use Martial Tempo. You can use Double Barrel for 2 reloads, but I personally didn't mind the reload, and by then I already had some reload speed, which we'll see in our passives here. But it is an option. And Martial Tempo and Double Barrel, those are going to be your gems for fragmentation when you just start out Skeleton. And then Scattershot will go inside Skeleton. High velocity rounds. You don't want it in fragmentation shot, Scattershot, because fragmentation shot already has multiple projectiles and it just doesn't add a whole lot. You'd rather have the speed and the extra reload, and that'll serve you very well as you level up. Very, very well. Now, in terms of your other skills, I'm not sure which you get first, but you'll get them quick, and the first one we're going to go into is Flash Grenade. This helps stun enemies, especially bosses. This really helps when you've got downtime, you're moving around. You can throw out a stun grenade, and boom, in a radius, puts out stun. It also blinds enemies, which, less accuracy, less chance to get hit. That's nice, but this grenade, flash grenade, isn't something you're going to be using incredibly often. It's one of those where it's situational and you feel the need to throw it out. A boss is near a stun, a mob is particularly dangerous, things of that nature. Now, gem-wise for flash grenade, anything that helps stun build up, that's good. It's got a niche use, so cater to its strengths. Now, the next one that is significantly more important is gas grenade. And there's a reason for this, and it isn't the explosion, which is this here. Throw it out, throw fire into it, it explodes. It explodes. There we go. No, the big one is the armor break. It's already poison, so you don't have to waste a support gem on it. But it breaks the armor of the enemies, which is a huge damage increase for this build. Added to that, use something that helps armor break speed up the process, like this one here. Okay, anything that helps in that nature, this is very important. Normally, and I'll show this in the rotation. Normally, on a boss fight or sometimes a dangerous mob, but not normally, usually bosses, you'll throw it out, and you'll throw them all out, and you just kind of let them sit until their armor fully breaks. And then once you see that icon pop up, then you start blasting with explosive shot. And then here and there, you just want to throw one out. It doesn't have to last a duration. You can just throw it out and immediately explosive, just so that the armor breaks. Okay, so just keep that in mind. You always have this in your back pocket. A lot of times, you're going to be able to just run around an explosive shot. Good 80% of the time, you just run around, explosive shot. For a long time, you're going to just be using explosive shot, gas grenade, flash grenade. But eventually, you will get your next ability that is significantly more important and will be used more often because of what it helps with and does, is oil grenade. Oil grenade applies fire exposure, which is basically like a lowering of their resistances, makes them take more damage, and it also slows them, which is great for things that just want to gun it at you. Oftentimes with this, you're going to just throw it out and then immediately explosive shot. You get that exposure lined up, and it really helps with your damage. It oftentimes you can just straight up one-shot blue pack, sometimes rare, sometimes not. Usually rares die in about 2 or 3 clips, which is a couple seconds. Okay, we're talking endgame here. Early game, depending on what weapon you get, could be faster. I don't want to say it could be slower because, like I said, this build really, really melts things. Gem-wise, ignore the bleed gem here. I was trying to test just every gem I could, since I was using it so often, try to get more value. The big one here is this one here. Exposure applied by supported skills have 30% increased effect. Since that is the big draw of oil grenade, is the fire exposure, right? I also have ignite duration here, because explosive shot mixed with gas grenade, oil grenade, it has a really high tendency already to ignite things, so I figure throw it in. There are some other support gems that can go here, but realistically, the big ones here, the ones that really matter, are the exposure. The exposure and just what the grenade does baseline. So, if you're out and about, it'll look something like this. Throw it out and then just immediately, boom, the oil grenade ignites, they're exposed, boom. A little bit later, moving along, the next big one you're going to get is emergency reload. And it does pretty much what you would expect it to do, right? You run out of ammo, you can hit this real quick, and then you get a full clip immediately. And it buffs the damage. Before I just show you how it looks, the support gems, 30% increased cooldown recovery rate. That helps because the cooldown on this is a little long. Supported skills deal 15% more damage. That's really good. Since it's already buffing damage, why not get a little bit more out of it? And then 40% less cost. Skill's kind of expensive. This gem could be switched out. It's not super important. It's not going to break anything. But it does help with the mana cost. Now, I'll just show you real quick how it looks. So I shoot, instant reload, boom, and I'm right back in it. Right, and I can't do that again for 45 seconds, so I hope you saw it. But when you're constantly gunning things, and later you'll get something that gives you a chance not to consume a bolt on something, a lot of times, since Explosive Shot hits so hard already, getting that instant clip is a big deal. You're going to want to save this. We'll say bosses. For a boss, you would want to save it after their armor is broken from gas grenade and oil grenade is applied. That sounds like a lot, but realistically it's about 5 seconds, maybe less. And then everything's ready, then you start unloading, and then boom, instant reload. You want to save instant reload for when you have armor breakup, or at the very least, oil grenade is applied for the exposure. Say it's a rare. You want at least the oil grenade, or if something's just about to die, and you know you're going to have to reload, just throw it out. Hit the instant reload, just kill it. This isn't a button that, you need to be saving for the perfect moment. Alright, the best possible scenario. It's not like that. If you really want to min-max, then yeah, I'm a little greedy, so I will hold on the cooldowns, but it's not one of those where it's like, oh, I wasted this. Just, if you think something's about to die, hit it, reload, just kill it. Now, I don't have it equipped, so I've just got a Spirit Gem up. But while leveling, Spirit Choice-wise, War Banner is a decent option. Okay. Basically, while you kill normal things, you'll get stacks of it, and then you can throw this banner down and you'll get a big chunk of attack damage. Or, if it's like a boss or a rare, a unique enemy, whatever, you'll get the charges naturally, then you can throw it down. The reason I wasn't particularly fond of this is when you're fighting a boss or something tough, you have to wait for it to build up charges, and then you have to do gas grenade and oil grenade, and then you have to throw down War Banner, and it's just a little too much for how fast this build wants to kill. And the animation on this is a little slow, but while leveling, it was my go-to. It does have its moments. If you can line things up, especially on a boss, then it really does provide a pretty sizable increase. And if you can line it up once they're fully stunned, and they're laying there on the ground, then you'll really chunk bosses. But if you're not worried about that, then what I ended up settling on was attrition, which pretty much does the exact same thing as War Banner, except you don't have to throw it down. It's just constantly doing it. And it's another one of those things where when you're in the presence of things, you passively get charges, and then you get a big boost to your damage, and you also get Culling Strike, which is an execute. But that's not super important, since this build in particular, I went Witch Hunter, because it's a Witch Hunter. How can you not go Witch Hunter? It's so cool. But this is kind of your choice. And then support gem wise, you can see I have this extra spirit reserved. I just threw in mana regeneration. If there's something you need or you want that you're lacking, there are some other choices. You can throw it in there. It does have slots open. Fast forward a little bit more. And now we come to the Ripwire Ballista. This thing is actually pretty valuable, but at the same time, it's a little annoying. Before we go over it, I'm just going to go over the support gems. You throw this down, and because of my support gems, I get Rage, which is nice. Right? More attack damage just by standing near it. That's awesome. Then, more mana. I didn't particularly have super bad mana problems with this build. While leveling, depending what I got on my weapon, if I got Leech, whatever, then it would kind of go between, yeah, I have them, no, I don't. This kind of just negates that. And then totem placement speed, because if you don't have this support gem, it takes a year to set these suckers down. Basically what this does just naturally is you throw it down, and it helps with things that are bolting towards you. Now to finish up our skills, you can see here that we have a empty slot. That slot can realistically be anything that you might want. I tried it with minions, with skeletal warriors, and then I just put meat shield in them, and that helps with things sprinting towards you, and then your ballista doesn't get smacked in the face. If you have the spirit for it, you can throw those in. Cluster grenade, you can throw it in. It doesn't do a whole lot since the build's not focused on grenades, but it's cool. It's a cluster grenade. You can throw in an artillery ballista if you wanted to. Plasma shot is okay. Sork has some things that if you had the intelligence, you could throw it in there. Basically, this slot, if you like a skill a lot, if you've played with things, then it could go there. Now, if you want more mobility, you could throw in shield charge from the warrior. You can see I have a shield in my back here. I toyed with it, just having it in for block every now and then. And it's okay. But, like I said, this slot can kind of be anything, and if I hit shift here, you can see my block, my raise shield is right there. I don't use that very often at all, but it is there. So, if there's something you want, something you want to throw in, something you think is fun, you want some mobility, then this could be a mobility slot. Ideally, that would be the best one because you don't really need more damage, and most of these can fit support gems that are going to boost your damage, like gas grenade, oil grenade, ballista with the rage. But don't take it too seriously. Whatever you want there, throw it in. Going into the passive tree here, briefly, because I'm trying to cut the time down. Passive trees can take a long time if you want to go over everything. I did go Witch Hunter. The second I heard Witch Hunter, had to happen, but it has some really nasty things in it. Judge, Jury, and Executioner is the first one I went towards. This gives you Decimating Strike. You get a 5 to 30% chance to chunk their health when you hit them for the first time. When this rolls to 30%, you really notice it because their health bar goes whoop. It's a lot of damage. RNG, but a lot of damage. Then you get Calling Strike, and you get some things that just kind of increase damage low on life, help with an Execute. But overall, this tree, when looking at both of them, it's just kind of loaded with things. Now, I will say at the same time that the Ascendancy isn't making or breaking this build. In fact, I haven't really seen a ton of Ascendancies that really make or break a build in general, but they do help, and it's kind of the same thing here. If you want to go the other route, then by all means. You're not going to break the build. It's not required to go Witch Hunter. It's just what I went. So let's say you're just starting out. Brand new Merc, League starter, whatever. You start here, and then you're going to come all the way down until you hit here. This point here. When you hit this, you have a decision to make. do you mind the reload speed? If you don't, then you're going to come up and hit this entire branch. You can see this 12% damage increase, 12%, 12%, 12%, 12%, 40%. There is so much damage in this one line, okay? But if you do mind the reload speed, if it's bothering you, then you're gonna beeline to here, and then you're gonna come all the way down until you hit instant reload. Right here. 40% increased crossbow reload speed. This really smoothens out the gameplay. But like I said, it is up to you if you mind it or you don't. Can you wait a little bit? Do you need the damage? It's not a huge decision, but it does help. That's the most important thing. From there, we've just got more damage increases. Overall, this entire passive tree is just loaded with huge damage increases. This one's nice. This is that chance to not consume a bolt. This one in particular, increased damage for each type of ammunition fired in the past 10 seconds. We only use one type of ammunition, but it's still a 25% damage increase. Now, past the instant reload and this tree here, there isn't a particular build order. I kind of went around and just, what did I feel like I needed? Did I need more damage? Then I go to a damage node. Did I need more attack speed? And we have quite a bit of attack speed in this build. Then I would grab those. More damage. Help with breaking the armor. This speeds up the gas grenade situation, which is nice, and you might want this one relatively early, depending how you play. More damage against rares and unique. This was one of the last ones I got. But then we come all the way back up, and we do dip into the ranger tree. And the reason is, there is movement speed over here. Movement speed's real nice. From there, this one, it's more attack speed, but it does feel as though you hit a point where it simply doesn't matter anymore. It wasn't really affecting a whole lot. But there is a decently sizable damage increases here. You can see another 40% increased projectile damage. This entire tree is basically just get the biggest damage increases possible. Survivability wise, we do have some here, but we have so many tools to stop things from gunning it towards us that I didn't find it particularly important. And also, eventually later in the game, probably going to be stacking a ton of energy shield, and there's just nothing super close around us that helps with that. So instead, I decided to go full damage, and it really worked. Now, gearing wise, and don't mind my inventory, I'm gonna sew these gems in, mix things around, just so I can show you guys things. Gearing wise, this is the type of crossbow, once you can get it in the endgame, that's going to be your go-to, because it loads an additional bolt. That's huge for this build. But stat-wise, increased physical damage is the most important. If you find something with high increased physical damage, a percentage, that is your go-to. And if you get this crossbow early, don't sit on it because of that loads an extra bolt. No, you find something better with higher damage, higher physical sense, just higher rolls, then switch to that crossbow. For a while, I was using the one that shot an extra grenade because it doesn't matter. This definitely increases damage, but not enough where you're going to want to not take a sizable weapon upgrade. Besides physical, increased physical damage, attack speed's nice. does seem to help with attack speed, and also just your firing speed. Or not attack speed, your reload speed. Adds to physical damage, that's really nice. The Leech's mana is nice. Raw stat. Accuracy, truth be told, if you don't have a lot of accuracy and your bolts just kind of fly, it's really not a huge deal because these shots are exploding in an area. And in our passive tree, we do have some increased area. So, not a huge deal. Percentage increased elemental damage would be nice too, because explosive shot does do a decent amount of fire. And then gem-wise, iron runes. Those are big. Gearing-wise, and by gearing I mean armor, your big ones are gonna be maximum life and resistances. Those are huge. Having your resistances in this game is a really, really big deal. It is the difference between standing still during a boss fight versus getting almost one-shot by them. Resistances are huge. Those are the most important. I went armor and evasion. That served me very well. And you can tell that I don't have gems in my gear right now because, again, I am greedy. So I will just try to outplay until I get that perfect piece of gear, and then I'll spend my things. Got a problem. How it is. Maximum life resistances. Now, late game, you're gonna probably be going the evasion energy shield route or just pure energy shield. Probably with the unique that turns half your maximum life into energy shield. Energy shield is just a little nutty. And then you could run Grim Feast as the spirit that when you kill something, it regenerates your energy shield. It could be a choice. But besides that, as you're gearing, watch your resistances, maximum life, and then just stats on things, just raw stats, strength, dexterity, intelligence. Those are one of the biggest things while leveling that you're gonna be lacking. Finally, we'll do the rotation. We'll do it with the Witch. FPS is good here. Nothing too difficult. Just give you an idea of what you do with this. So we come in, turret down, gas grenade, armor's breaking, oil grenade, and then just start unloading. And then that's it. That was fast because number one, I'm strong, but number two, that's just how this build hits. It hits hard. The second that armor broke, boom, I start blasting, and she's done. And that's just pretty much in general how things go with this build. Up into a little bit higher of a zone, just so you can kind of see how the build functions. Oil grenade, throw it out, dead, continue. Oil grenade, throw it out, dodge away from that, clear it out, oil grenade, dead. Keep it going. That's a gas grenade there, just for the explosion. Sometimes I just like to throw it out just to be a little fancy, and it also helps just blow things down. Enemies here, and that's without any grenades right there. And you can see these things just don't have a chance to do anything. Throw a turret down just for the sake of it. Grenades, because I'm reloading. I threw the grenades there because I had to reload, and I knew they were going to sprint towards me, so I'll just throw it out and continue. But you can see as I'm moving, I'm just kind of melting things, and this is the same experience in maps. Just delete, 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 delete. Now there's a lot of enemies here. Throw down that ballista turret so they can't swarm me. And I'm fine. But it's not like I hit a point and now this is what this build is doing. No, once I got explosive shot, it's just what the build does. And I noticed it once my partner started playing it too following this, and they were just kind of sprinting through things and melting things. Now, mind you, they were mostly just kind of walking up, standing there, shooting them, and the things were just gone. I was like, okay. This build's pretty good. Now, the last little tip I'll give here is while you're leveling and you're hunting for weapons, obviously, a weapon plays a large part in every build in this game. Your rolls, whatever. If things are closing the gap on you, or you feel like you have to slow down a little bit, then just slow down a little bit. Utilize your grenades more. If you do slow it down, your gas explosion actually does quite a bit. Oil grenade, like I said, it slows. Just utilize your grenades more. And play it safe. This build doesn't have to be up close. It doesn't have to be, right in their face. You can play it from a distance. So just keep that in mind. If you get to a dangerous part, particularly out 3, there is a somewhat substantial difficulty jump. And by difficulty jump, I mean the mobs start hitting abruptly hard, just kind of out of nowhere. Just take it a little bit slower. Use your grenades, and you should be fine. And I think that pretty much covers everything. Now, stepping away from the game for a minute, I hope that you have a nice holiday season. Things are going well. And if it isn't, your holiday, in general, I hope that things go well and you have a nice time. There's a lot of magic in the air, even if this isn't something you particularly celebrate. You deserve to partake in it too, just the happiness in general. So I hope you're doing well. If you have any questions, if you'd like the build, anything like that, let me know. The usual subscribe, like, those do help me out. But in general, I'm just glad that people are checking my stuff out. That really means a lot. As with all my builds, the other one that I've put up, and this one, they're all things that I have played with and toyed with a lot and tested. I'm not going to throw out garbage and be like, this is amazing, and I haven't touched it, or, it's not my work, something like that. No, if I'm showing you something, I've played it and think, okay, this is worth showing. As for the future, I am cooking up something that's, we'll say, off meta. And if I can get it to work, and I think it's going to work, that will be the next video. But until next time, Merry Christmas, and thanks for stopping by. Here, that's my first choice. Between 5 and 30% when you first hit them. What the fuck?